Welcome, everyone, to this Ag Steward event. My name is Jared Sorensen. I'm the host. I'm privileged to be here with you. We do this live as a webinar. We also repurpose it as the Profitable Steward podcast, and you can find the replay and the video on YouTube on the Profitable Ag Steward YouTube channel. Just look for the podcast playlist on there, and you'll be able to see the recording from this and all of our past productions. We've been blessed with so many wonderful producers and educators in the regenerative agriculture world, as well as many others who are outside the industry who add some unique perspectives to what it means to be profitable stewards. So I'm grateful that Stanford Jensen's here with us today. Stan and I met several years ago. We were at a homeschool conference, and he had some kids tagging along behind him, and my wife and I think we actually had a booth there. We were marketing grass-fed beef, and I had a few books there from Joel Salatin, and Stan and I struck up a conversation. It sounded like he was doing some cool things and wanting to learn, and so we've stayed in contact off and on ever since. It's been neat to see how his operation has changed, and so we look forward to getting to know you. Stan, tell these folks where you're from and a little bit about your family, and then we'll jump into your regenerative journey.
Yeah, so we're in central Utah, just south of Gunnison, Utah. Uh, it's a fairly arid valley. We're about 5,000 feet. We get generally between 9 and 12 inches of rain moisture a year, and then after that, we're fed by mountain streams and a few smaller reservoirs. And then family-wise, got four children. Age ranges from 7 to 13, and I was an engineer by trade, and when I started having kids and decided that I wanted to raise them on the farm and give them an opportunity to grow up somewhere where they'd have about as much freedom as you can get.
Yeah, really cool. That's neat. But your operation is a family operation, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And how many generations?
I guess like any farm, I'm sure, the ancestors were farmers going way back, but my great grandpa, Alexis, he came here from Denmark when he was two, moved to this
Okay.
valley, and he he did a little bit in agriculture. My grandpa did more, but I mean, my grandpa, when I was, interviewing him before he passed, he looks at me and he goes, "Boy, you got to understand, 10 acres was a big farm when I was a young man."
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah. With the technology that they had, 10 acres was, and I wonder, did 10 acres provide well for a family back then, or was it more subsistence living?
I think he did okay. He had eight kids and provided for them. He did other stuff. I mean, I know he worked for the power company. I know he ran power to his house.
Okay.
And our valley used to grow the sugar for Wrigley's spearmint gum.
Oh wow. Huh.
So I know that that was also you know, um, something that a lot of people were involved with, including himself. And so
Yeah.
there was definitely a need there for more. I don't think he'd have done everything he did if there wasn't a little bit of hunger involved. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
because he did a lot of interesting stuff. He helped co-found a dairy here in the valley, and I think that was just to help provide more opportunity.
Okay.
So I mean, we could talk for an hour just about the things that he did and what has changed in the last 100 years compared to when he started farming when I did. I took pictures of all our old equipment before he died, and
Okay.
I asked him about it all and recorded it all.
That is cool.
And so there's a lot of really cool stories that came out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we might have to do a follow-up interview and learn some more about history. Uh, but speaking of houses, you live in a pretty neat house right now. You can see on the background. This is the house that you built, right?
Right. So this is a house that I built with my own hands. Took me 5 years. This is my office wall behind me. All the exterior walls look like this to my house. It's called rammed earth. So this wall behind me is 2 feet thick.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the inspiration to build a rammed earth home?
Actually, I was reading a book by Rob Royce called Earth Sheltered Homes, and in it he lists a bunch of different building methods, cordwood, adobe, sod, and he said rammed earth, and I'd never heard of the rammed earth. I didn't know what it was. So when I looked it up, as soon as I saw it, I fell in love with it, and I told myself I was going to do it.
Nice. Nice.
It took a while, but I
Any
got her done.
regrets?
No.
Any No. It's I mean a ton of labor, right? But
Ton of labor, ton of time. Definitely a labor of love. You don't do something like this if you're not committed.
yeah, right. Right. That's pretty amazing. That's neat. Well, let's talk about your regenerative journey. Kind of start wherever you want to start. Maybe from when you move back, and then you can kind of build out from there to the point that you're at now, including what your enterprises are, and feel free to share slides or pictures as they apply.
Okay. So I grew up on this farm. It really hasn't changed a lot since I was a boy. We grew alfalfa and corn when I was a boy. We did dry chopping when I was really little, but by the time I really got involved, we were growing 1 ton square bales and hauling it around and silaging corn for local feedlots. Uh, growing up, I mean, it was just normal. Dad go out and spray, say, stay out of this field for 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
And so I left home for about 10 years, got married, started having children, came back with the children. And I started doing the same thing. I mean, it's easy to do. You get introduced to your seed salesman, your fertilizer salesman, your pesticide salesman, and they've got all the answers. Hey, tell me what you're planting here. When are you going to plant? When are you going to harvest? Okay, here's the seed for you. Tell me what bugs, hey, I'm out here in your field right now. I'm seeing this bug or I'm seeing this bug. Use this chemical. Here's how you apply it. I mean, they hold your hand and make you feel all warm and fuzzy, and they've got all the answers. And I didn't think anything of it. I never questioned it. You just did it. It wasn't my first kind of introduction was, and I don't know what came, I don't remember, Jared, what came first. You giving me The Pigness of Pigs by Joel Salatin, or going to one of these NRCS soil health classes.
Hmm.
But that was the beginning of the wake up. It was like, okay, there is a different way, and we should be doing this differently. And I think at this point, I'll be surprised if I haven't read every single one of Joel Salatin's books.
Yeah.
And had a chance to be around him, I think about a half a dozen times now.
Wow. Cool.
And uh and I was just I found his writings inspiring. I found uh I found not only did I find them inspiring, but I found them like something that I wanted to do. I guess kind of a bit like Rammed Earth. I read his works and I thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so we've been working. Uh, so learning about soil health, no, I don't know, no-till, getting rid of pesticides. I just started down this road, and it's taken me a lot longer than I'd like it to. This year is actually the first year that we didn't use any pesticides on the farm. So
Nice.
that was kind of a big
Nice.
deal for me, a big stepping
Yeah.
stone. I'm sure for a lot of people, um, but it's funny. It's a big ship to turn when you are steeped in modern chemical agriculture. It is very difficult to get out of that very quickly.
Hmm. Yeah.
And uh, but we've been working towards it. We've made great strides, and uh, I was really impressed early on that we didn't have any animals on the farm. There hadn't been animals on the farm for decades, for a generation. And
Hmm.
I looked at that and I thought, okay, well, part of soil health is animals. Uh, and of course, you got people like Alan Savory, Alejandro down on the Sonora Desert, looking at what they do under far more difficult circumstances than I deal with. And I just look at that and I go, man, I can improve so much here. And so 2020, we got our first animals on the farm, 16 low-line Angus cattle. Uh,
Hmm.
and we got low-line Angus because we were not sure how this was going to go, and we hadn't worked with cattle. We didn't know how to work with cattle, and now we have over 120 cattle on the farm. That's we they're it's birth to death here on the farm. So we've got the cows, the calves, the yearlings. They
Nice.
Now we have chickens, pigs.
Yeah. Yeah. So along that journey, what's the bread and butter for, or what had been the bread and butter for your operation? Was it a combination of the alfalfa and the corn? And
Alfalfa and corn, almost
Mhm.
50-50.
Okay.
A little bit more alfalfa. And alfalfa, we were pretty much solely selling our alfalfa to the exporters
Okay.
and for it to be shipped to China, which was
Yeah.
a really great thing for my dad. I mean, he got involved at that at just the right time. I mean, he was in it in the heyday in like 2014, 2015. Hay prices were great.
Hmm.
The water was good. He made a lot of money those years. He was able to really dig himself out of debt, pay for a bunch of things, do a lot of really necessary upgrades here on the farm. I find it interesting now that the export market is for alfalfa is almost completely fallen apart,
Yeah.
and and then a lot of the feedlots that we've sold to, things have changed dramatically for them because of the change in milk prices and such. And so not being completely relying on those sources anymore is actually good timing on my part.
Yeah. Yeah. Hay farmers here in the West have got it pretty tough right now, right? I mean, is anybody making money that's making hay right now?
I don't know anybody that's growing hay that's super excited about what's going on right now. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, from not, we're not involved in those things anymore, but I mean, I still am friends with all the same people, but fertilizers have doubled in price. The pesticides have gotten, I think, 50% more expensive. Everything is more expensive, but we're getting less for hay than we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's tough. That's rough. It's really difficult to make money. Equipment has doubled in price.
Yeah.
The just
Labor,
labor,
labor.
yeah. Oh, I mean, just to have somebody show up to fix the most basic things. Uh, I mean, I had one of my tractors, an alarm was going off, and I couldn't figure it out. And they sent a mechanic over. He said, "Oh yeah, you got the wires that go to your seat to say that you're sitting down. They'd got cut." And it was a $300 repair bill,
Right.
$380.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 It's a different environment, right? Than where you grew up, and especially way different than your grandparents. But so so your dad, it sounded like, was more conventional. What he was doing worked. Um, you got the regenerative bug and started to change things. How was that? How were those changes met by the older generation, by your parents?
I am extremely blessed and fortunate to have a father that has been absolutely supportive of what I've done.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm really kind of surprised how supportive he's been because some of these changes are really difficult and expensive. And
Yeah.
and he's just turned the reins over to me and said, "Good luck, and you're doing great." And so that has been uh, really humbling to see him do that. My grandpa had passed before I started making these changes. I think he may have rolled over in his graves a few times with some of the stuff I've done. It's nothing that
Yeah.
he didn't do though. He had cattle, he had pigs, he had chickens.
Really, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He lost money on every single one of them, so that's why he quit doing them. And so for his grandson to be doing those exact same things, but I think the environment has changed, and I think at the end of the day, when you're trying to grow stuff for the commodity market, that's I think it's hard to make money in the commodity market without government subsidies.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, yeah, especially in the forage production, but I know most of the row crop farmers too are in pretty tight margins right now. So so yeah, let's kind of dive in. Once you started learning about the regenerative side of things, what were some of the initial changes that you made, and what did that look like?
The very first thing that I did was just some no-till corn. I just we took a field that was alfalfa, went out, drilled the corn in, well, sprayed out the alfalfa, and then put the corn in, and that was the very first thing I did.
Uh-huh.
Shortly after that, that turned out well, so we just kept that going. I haven't tilled up the ground going into corn yet. Um, then I started into cover crops, especially like interseeding into corn. We've had some pretty decent success with interseeding into corn. We've done interseeding into alfalfa, either like a triticale or some sort of three-way spring grain mix into alfalfa in the early spring, and done some different things with that. I've done summer planting into alfalfa using sunflowers and sorghum sudan.
Okay.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
I've also, anyway, everywhere I can put in a some sort of cover crop, I do. If we're
Mhm.
coming out of silage corn, I'll go plant something into that and get it growing. So I do as many varieties as I can, and that's kind of where we started. But I always knew that long term I didn't want to be dependent on the fertilizers. I didn't want to be dependent on the pesticides. I didn't want to be dependent on all this all this heavy machinery that I have.
Mhm.
And and so I've invested more and more in cows, in chickens and pigs, because they don't take the infrastructure that alfalfa does and corn does. And so anyways, yes, we got the we've got the cattle. We added pigs last year. We do both egg layers and meat birds. And I just look at that and I'm like, I would much rather have these animals. Doesn't matter what happens, the world could go to war and I can still raise these animals.
Yeah.
And I can feed me, I can feed my family, I can feed my community. And that's just the beginning of it. I mean, there's as I mean, you know this better than me, but just the soil health,
Hmm.
the nutrition. Because as long as you're growing a monocrop, there's a lot of challenges in growing nutritious monocrops.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. So talk a little bit about what you've done on the soil health side. Are you completely weaned off of synthetic fertilizers?
We're 90% of the way there.
Okay.
So this fall, I'm looking at bringing starting two things. So I got really lucky early this season, and I got to go to Joe Salton's farm on one of his farm tours.
Uh-huh.
And while I was there, he's taking us around, and he shows us his where he composts with his pigs. And I'd read
Hmm.
about it, but I'd never understood. I mean, he literally said we're out there, and he's like, this composting is the heartbeat of our farm.
Hmm.
And I don't know where I missed that. And it just made me realize that's what we need to be doing. We've got the cows, we've got the pigs. It's time to put them together and get those pigs to compost what the cows do.
Yeah.
And so we're this winter, that'll be our first try with that. I may also just bring in a bunch of there's a sheep farm in the next city over that's pretty big. They got a whole bunch of manure slash straw that's all mixed together from their bedding that I'd
Okay.
like to haul in here and compost.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so that's for me in soil health, that is definitely the next thing that we're gonna
Yeah.
do.
So have you done any biologicals, foliar sprays, or things to replace the synthetics, or is it just added fertility through cover crops and livestock?
Added fertility to cover crops livestock. I have tried a few biologicals. I probably need to understand them better. And the other
Hmm.
problem is when I did the biologicals in 2020, right before the worst drought in over a generation.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's kind of hard to put bugs down and expect them to survive when you don't give them any water whatsoever.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
And so just the financial burden that drought put on us, I've had a hard time saying I'm going to go back and invest heavily in biologicals
Hmm.
when compost, I think, I don't know, compost calls for me just for some reason, calls to me for some reason.
Yeah,
And, and so I'm drawn to it.
it's
And
probably
I don't know if
closing
that's
that fertility loop, right? That's the challenge that I have with any of these things that you import, even though they're maybe organic, they may be natural. It's still what happens if that supply goes away or we can't get it to our farm. How do we build fertility on our farms and ranches? Um,
going down this fertility road, the cattle that we have, we've been grazing them in the pivot corners now for this would be, I guess this would be the sixth year, fifth year. And two of those years, pretty serious droughts. Got the cattle in 2020. 2019 was a tremendous drought. 2022 was a bad drought for us also. Uh, well, I hadn't seen much change in what was happening with our soil, and I was just like, are we making any progress here now? I think this was the turning point this year in that soil. Holy cow, we cannot keep up. I
huh,
I mean, we got the cows in there, and normally, like come July, we're like, oh, we're gonna run out of feed, and we're gonna have to bell feed. We're a month behind. I can't
uh-huh.
catch up. Those fields are just going gangbusters. And I mean, we haven't touched them with anything. They are just cattle. That's it. That's the only thing that's gone in those fields. And they make everything else I do go just to shame
Yeah,
because of what those fields just they look so good. And I know that they'll look even better next year. I mean, I'm floored by how good they look compared to everything else I've done.
yeah. And so these are the edges and the corners. They're not what you're harvesting mechanically.
Correct.
And so do you still harvest like your pivot irrigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess I don't know if there's anybody who wants to know what that is. Maybe just explain what that is for the people in the Midwest who have no idea what they
Man,
fly.
I love reading books and they start talking about water. And yeah, it's a different story in the Midwest. It's so interesting here on these mountain valleys in this arid desert. The water is, no matter where the drop of water is, it's owned by somebody.
Yeah.
And, and it is transported somewhere and it is put out on the fields. And so our fields in a good year they'll get 36 inches of water, and every drop of those 36 inches is put down by overhead irrigation. Whether that's through a what's called a hand line which is a 40-foot length of pipe with a bird on it that we move by hand every day, whether it's a wheel line, which is just a hand line with wheels on it, or a center irrigation pivot, which is uh, kind of a much bigger deal. You're talking about a 15-foot tall structure that spans 170 feet between wheels and spins around a center point as it sprinkles water out across the entire field.
Hmm. Yeah. And the source of your water, are you pumping from aquifers? Is it reservoirs? Where do you get your water?
About 50% of our water comes out of reservoirs that are owned by our irrigation company, and the other 50% comes out of our mountain streams.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we're split.
Yeah. And so
I'm glad we're not on aquifers. We've got surrounding valleys that are on aquifers. They're all draining them.
yeah, yeah, that's a touchy subject, right? Here in the West. It's
It's not sustainable. You can only play that game for so long. It's
yeah,
no, it's to me, it's no different than chemical fertilizers. It's a losing battle.
yeah. Were you there when Joel Salatin made the comment at the in southern Utah about pumping from aquifers? I thought he was going to get lynched and thrown out of the room.
What do you say? I don't remember
he,
this.
he said it's basically it's not that it should be outlawed because he's anti-government, anti-law. He said, but it's definitely unethical and borderline immoral, something to that effect. And to a room full of a bunch of farmers and ranchers who were pumping from aquifers, and so And I get this is going on recording. We're in Nevada and our neighbors do it, and I've leased farms that have pumped from aquifers as well. But I agree with you, Stan. It's not sustainable.
When
We've
when
got
we
to get
talk
our growth.
regenerative, I think it's a worthy question. Is irrigating even sustainable? I've heard the argument that it
Yeah,
isn't, and
yeah,
it's a good argument. I
yeah,
irrigate, and I have to ask myself that question: Can I, at the end of the day, truly call myself regenerative as long as I am dependent on irrigation?
yeah. So here's a question. We'll go down this rabbit hole just a little bit. Um, let's think back to your great grandpa when he came to that valley. Yeah, great grandpa, right? Who came from
Yes.
Denmark. Do you think that pre white man settlement of the West, and we could say even further beyond, but the West particular, when there was beavers, um, there were more trees. Definitely the landscape looked a lot different. Was there more biomass grown then or now with modern irrigation? Tricky question, I know. And
No, no, no. But I think this is a great and here's the challenge. So when I was so I went to the Dakota Lakes Research Center with Dwayne Beck several years back, and when I was up there, the thing that they talk about up there in South Dakota is they talk about the way that it was, and they
mhm.
all and I don't know if you know this, but do you know how they know how it was there before
No.
us? Lewis and Clark. They use the writings of Lewis and Clark like the Bible because
Okay.
they are the only ones who saw it and recorded it.
Yeah.
Because after
Yep.
Lewis and Clark, that's when the buffalo were removed. Well, when
Okay.
I look at the native range maps of the buffalo, we're part of that. They were gone a generation before Brigham Young showed up in the valleys.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I don't you well you see I'm sure you've seen this on your farm. What happens when you remove cattle from land for a generation?
Yeah, it's degenerative here in the West.
Very fast, very fast.
Yep.
Generation, it looks nothing like it did. I mean, some of the land that my dad bought, it had cattle on it. And by the time I was a young man, it looked nothing like it did when I was a boy. When I was a
Hmm.
boy, it was grass. By the time I was a young man, it was all sagebrush, all desert.
Interesting. Huh.
So I'm trying to reverse that in those areas that I don't irrigate.
Hmm.
And I'm not seeing a lot of change yet. So that's why I look at like Alejandro and I'm just like, man, how does he do it?
Right.
But so yes, it looked very different. And the problem is the ecosystem, but it didn't even matter that we arrived. What mattered is that we disrupted it before we ever even saw it.
Okay.
And and I think yes, more biomass. I think actually less trees.
Okay.
Our forests are way too overgrown because of the way that they're mismanaged by the Forest Service.
Hmm.
Because we are meant to burn. We live in an arid desert.
Periodically.
Yes, our forests were meant to burn. They were meant to have big animals going through there and ripping them up.
Hmm.
I mean, when my cows get together in those trees, or or in that sagebrush, they change the landscape
Yeah.
and
Yep.
make a big difference. And if you had a million bison coming through here, I'm sure they'd go up in those mountains. Of course they would. They'd go up in those mountains for the grasses up there, and I guarantee they would change that landscape. You'd take all those little scrub oaks and quaking aspens that are growing, and they would just tear them up. They would
Hmm.
flatten them out, and they would just. I'm. Sh There's just no way that we had the kind of trees that we did because the kind of trees we have now, we absolutely know if that we were not fighting fires nonstop, the whole thing would burn.
Sure. Right.
And so, I mean, what's up there is not sustainable. It's not regenerative. It's not the way that Mother Nature intended it to be. We should have millions of cattle, well, maybe not millions, but lots of cattle grouped together inside these mountains, doing exactly what they should be doing in terms of high intensity grazing and long rest periods. And we would see, I don't know, sometimes I daydream what these mountains would look like if we actually managed animals that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you just recently had a fire pretty close to you, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Over here in the Monroe Mountains was 70,000 acres burned, a couple
Uh-huh.
cabins.
And how many millions of dollars did that take to fight that fire?
Oh, the last
Versus,
time I looked at it, it was $60 million.
yeah. So what if we reallocated those resources to managing through livestock the way nature intended versus fighting against nature? What could that do for the landscape?
Do for the landscape, do for the economy. That fire didn't
Sure.
produce any value. I mean, sure, $60 million got paid out to planes and firefighters who risked their lives to do this, which, I'm grateful for them. But man, let's turn that $60 million into $60 million worth of profit in the cattle industry, in the sheep industry, in the pork industry. I think pigs would do a tremendous amount of good in our mountains. And the nice thing here is we don't have to worry. You're the same way. You don't have wild pigs. Our winters are too
No.
cold. They don't survive. So
Uh-huh.
it's not a
Yeah.
risk here. This is a great environment for pigs in the summer because
Hmm.
we don't have that risk of them becoming feral.
Right. Right. Huh.
And and so no, I think we could transform our mountains into some of the most beautiful land. They are already absolutely stunning and gorgeous landscapes. They could be so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty interesting discussion to think about what
Yeah,
could be, what was, and what the potential of the landscape
and
is.
I don't know about you, but we are in dire need of carbon, like wood chips.
Yeah. Yeah.
To think about the number of wood chips that just burned up, like
Right.
man, go up there
Yeah.
with a wood chipper and just start bringing it down to the valleys. We can use it. Like let's
Sure.
mulch and let's mulch a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Reallocation of resources for sure.
Absolutely.
So speaking of carbon, what have you seen as far as your soil organic matter from the model that you inherited to where you're at now?
That's been a really disappointing subject for me. We haven't seen any change yet. Uh,
Really, really,
that's right.
huh? How about one of the things that I think came from your website is you are utilizing less water. Is that right?
Yes, we do use less water. I mean, a lot of that's drought. I mean, in the last 20 years, we're 30% year over year down on water, just
Okay.
just from less water in rainfall and moisture. And that includes irrigation. So, just 70% water right there. We saw our organic matter drop significantly during the drought, which I
Hmm.
expected because I know some of the classes I've gone to, they talked about how if you don't grow something and you've started that bacterial well, the not the bacterial, but the whole ecosystem inside your soil, they got to eat something. And if you
Hmm.
don't have roots that are exudating and providing more biomass for them to thrive, they're going to eat, they're going to cannibalize what's there.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Makes
And
sense.
And so I'm excited. I mean, I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited to test it this year and see if we made some progress just based on what we're seeing in those results. These fields that these cattle have been on, we've only we're doing our third watering right now, which will bring us to 18 inches for the year. Whereas, like
Okay.
you heard me earlier say, we'd normally go to 36. You can't
Hmm.
tell that we skipped waterings.
Okay.
They look great. There's no dry spots. I mean, normally when you've only put down, you could tell other places that I've put 18 inches that aren't where I've really gone gung ho on regenerative, especially with grazing. You can tell.
Interesting. Huh. Then that's it's really interesting that the soil organic matter is lagging.
Yeah,
What other things are you testing for? Are you doing any PLFA or Haney or respiration tests, or are you just strictly a straight soil sample with pH and
mostly straight soil
micromet?
samples. I've done some others, but
Hmm.
not consistently, not like the other soil samples.
Okay.
So I wish I had the other ones consistently. It's harder because they're so inconsistent in terms of how much they're changing and how much more difficult they are to get done.
Sure. Yeah.
Ver this is my bad, but the other ones really get done because the same guy who sells me for my fertilizer, he's happy to keep taking my soil samples for me. So,
Yeah. Yep.
So he
You got
shows up and takes them consistently every year, and that so I've got soil samples going back over a decade.
nice. Okay.
But I mean, we keep track of, our base saturation rates, uh, our calcium ratios, and but again, we have not made a lot of progress yet in those samples.
Yeah.
Not like I was hoping. Even with cover crops and uh, I don't know. I don't know why we can't make that needle move yet. Although I'm sure we're missing something in our biologics, obviously.
hmm
And
Yeah.
that's a hard question to answer.
What is the pH of your soil and the water that you're applying?
We are really high pH. So our water is 8.5 pH. We're
hmm
extremely high in bicarbonates, and our
Okay.
soil follows suit. So our soil is above, anywhere between 8 to 8.5 in our pH.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And it's cool that you know what bicarbonates are. Do you mitigate that? Like some people are putting in acid with their water, or they're doing gypsum and
I've done a
fertigated
little bit of
gypsum.
acid. Uh, we've been trying to use acid, and I can't say that it's moved the needle.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's interesting. And when you think about acid, you're thinking, well, how can that be good for the biology? But you have to explain the context, right? It's just to lower the pH of the water. And so by the time it comes out of the nozzles, like it's safe to drink, right? It's not.
Yeah,
It's just
it's probably a little safer to drink. 8.5, yeah, it's salty water.
yeah. Okay.
It doesn't. Delta, Utah is just an hour away from us. They're in the same drainage as us. They're the end of our drainage. They do not use pivots because by the time the water gets to them, it is salty enough that they cannot overhead sprinkle.
Oh, okay. It'll just
So
plug everything up. Just
it's the salt on the leaves of the plant. So the salt gets on the leaves of the
oh,
plant
and they'll
and
burn them.
it burns them. And
Yeah.
so
So they
people have they
flood it.
flood.
Is it interesting? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
not see you see pivots go in and then come right back out over there, but nobody over there is consistently using pivots. They just don't work.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Huh. Yeah. So it's sometimes we wonder why in the heck do we farm this high alkaline soil with this water? we're kind of we just love a challenge, I guess.
For
So
sure.
so the farming side of it, that's been the bread and butter. You've ventured out and you're now doing livestock integration and multi-species. Tell us a little bit about how that evolved and where you're at. Well, more importantly, I guess you talked about how it evolved, but where are you now? What are your enterprises? And do you have one that you consider to be like a centerpiece enterprise? Would that still be the forage production or is it moved to
The
livestock?
forage production is still our bread and butter,
hmm
but we're close. We are so close to that tipping point where where the beef become our main source of income, the beef,
Okay.
the pork, and the chicken. And so I'm excited for that to be it because as soon as that's paying the bills, I'm more than happy to just not do the hay anymore.
hmm
I'll pay the guy that, I'll pay somebody to come custom do what we need done, but I don't want the equipment anymore. I'm okay with I don't need it. I don't need I got a half a dozen pieces of equipment out there right now that they all need something done to them.
Right.
Something's broke.
Yeah.
And I I'd much rather be out there with the cows, and the pigs, and the chickens. They're just I I find such I don't know, it fills my soul to be out there with them, and I enjoy them. Uh, so no, I'm anybody that's familiar with Joel Salatin's books, he makes a few statements. I mean, one statement he makes is 100 years ago we weren't farming with tractors, and 100 years from now we won't be farming with tractors again.
Mhm.
Uh, I also think about the fact that is there any other is there any other occupation or practice in the world that is as good for the soul or as good for the family as agriculture? That that raises the kind of men who fear God and know what it means to sweat and labor. I mean, you think of the Bible, and the Bible constantly talks about the law of the harvest and by the sweat of thy own brow, your own brow will you eat your bread. That I mean, farming is that's what comes out of that.
Yeah, no doubt.
And and then I also think about when we're in commodity crops, by and large, or so when we're in forage production, by and large, we're in commodity markets.
Hmm.
And I I think commodity markets is such a dangerous place to try to make a living out of because you're at the behest of people in cities who they're just playing games. They don't care. They could they don't care that their that their forecasts and their futures have real life consequences for those of us that are actually out here doing the work. And so when Joel talks about direct to consumer market, direct farmers selling directly to the consumer being the way that it should be, I that resonates with me. Because yeah, if we get to the point, if we get to a point where in agriculture in general, we sell what we make directly to the consumer, that that means, your income is far more secure. Because when I first got to the farm, we had two customers.
Wow.
That's it. One of those
Yeah.
guys fires me, I'm in a load of trouble. And in
Yeah.
fact, I never expected this. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, will you ever lose either of these two customers? I'd have been like, no, they're super solid. The export market, no, the export market, it makes so much sense because we had such a huge trade deficit with China. That's not going anywhere. Uh, these guys that are replacing or growing replacement heifers for the dairies, that's not going anywhere. They're both gone.
Really. Yeah.
I mean, they're still there, but it's changed. The export
Hmm.
market has changed. They're not really buying hay like they were. And then the other gentleman that I was selling to, things have changed for him, and he doesn't need my hay, he doesn't need my corn anymore.
Hmm.
And so it's like so they fired me. And if that's all I had to rely on, that makes for a really tough world.
Yeah.
Now we have hundreds of customers. And we're still working on it. But now, if somebody fires me, somebody fired me this morning. They just weren't quite happy with me. Oh, I'm sorry about that, but life will go on. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
and I'll learn from my mistakes and thanks for talking to me, and I appreciate you. And I mean, when somebody gets, I'm always happy when a customer gets mad at me because it means they care.
Uh-huh. There's
And
something to learn.
yeah, and there's something I've got a
Um,
lesson to learn. And thank you for teaching me that lesson. Uh,
yeah.
and and then just setting my own prices, man. When you set your own prices, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Now I'm not worried about losing all my customers. I worry about maybe the government stepping in and shutting me down at some point because I don't cross all the T's and dot all the I's like I should.
Yeah.
But
You sound like you're a little bit of libertarian minded like Joel, who maybe
it's hard not to have it rub off on you.
I know. So do you do 100% direct to consumer on the beef side now? Or
Yes,
that's how you've always have done it
that's how
from
we've
the
always
start,
done
right?
it.
Yeah. So what started you into wanting to do the D2C direct to consumer, direct to customer?
Oh,
Uh,
100% Joel.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he had every he has everything to do with that because I read him and I read, in here he talks about the size of his farm. His original farm is about 500 acres.
Yeah.
And that's about the size of my farm. And I love gardening. I love growing plants. I've got some great pictures of gardens that I grew before, while I was an engineer. Like they're beautiful. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but a 500-acre garden is a different kind of garden and it takes a different kind of management.
Sure. Yeah.
And I can't think of something anything more holistic than intensive grazing with animals across the land when it's
Hmm.
that much land.
Yeah. So how did you learn the direct marketing and how has that process been? I mean,
By far the most difficult thing that I've done.
Really?
Marketing is not my strong suit.
Okay.
Here's a joke for you guys. How do you tell how do you tell the difference between an introvert engineer and an extrovert engineer?
I have no idea.
An introvert looks at his shoes, an extrovert looks at your shoes.
Okay. Got it. So which one are you?
It just, so to get out of to really get out of myself and really put myself out there, that is a very difficult thing for me. It's been a real growing experience. Very definitely has stretched me. Uh, and I'm still being stretched and still learning, but we've made great strides. I'm learning to market much better. In the beginning, what really made the biggest difference in our marketing is, we hooked up with Cam King, took his course with the grass-fed marketing, and
Hmm.
that really catapulted us and helped us make a lot of strides. Uh, I kind of fell off the wagon when I started finishing this house, and and still trying to get back in the groove. So we're 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 doing okay, but we definitely have a lot of growth to do.
Yeah. Who's involved with your business?
Myself and my sister.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess what are your roles and what are her roles within that?
So she namely takes care of the cattle,
Hmm.
and uh, and then I do everything else. Well, the cattle and the social media. So if you're looking at our social media, you're going to see her. She's really good at getting on social media.
Okay.
I have a hard time convincing myself that I want to go post something.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
what's the name of your farm so people can go check it out?
so the name of our farm is Sunnyside Up Pastures. On Instagram, it's at Sup Farms.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Go check it out. They are doing some pretty cool stuff. And you guys, you've got websites and stuff as well.
Yeah, we have our website. The easiest way to remember our website, it's utahsbestbeef.com.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
And yeah, if you get on our website, you'll see everything that we're doing, or at least what we got there. Then from there, you can find our Instagram, and our Instagram is where we're absolutely the most active because of my sister.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
My job is mostly, run the finances, run the farm, run the equipment, uh, run the ad campaigns, build out the website. And my sister helps with a lot of this stuff, especially when I just need somebody to kind of pick up the little stuff and put it together and get it started. Sometimes it's just to get the ball rolling. I'll be like, hey, will you get the ball rolling on this? Then once she's got the ball rolling, I'll pick it up and keep it going.
yeah. Nice. And is your dad still involved at all?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, it's
No,
a
he
true.
a couple years ago, so 2019, they went on a mission to Kenya.
Uh-huh.
And when he got back, he helps here and there, but by and large, I think he's happy to go do his own stuff. And then they actually left this morning on another mission. They're headed to Papua New Guinea.
Oh, wow. Good for
Yeah.
them. Good for them. Well, yeah, that takes a lot of trust to step away from something that they built, and that is pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like that's a good thing that they feel like they can leave and feel like it's all going to be here when they get back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speak a little bit about the finances, economics, and mostly like what do you measure when it comes to looking at the economics and what tools do you use to be able to track?
I'd say this is a bit of my weak suit, the economics of it. I'm just happy to get my bills paid
Okay.
sometime
Yeah.
during the month. I used to be
Uh,
much better at finances. I don't know what happened. You know what? To go from a job where I sat at a computer all day every day to now I can't even stand to sit at a computer anymore. Uh,
yeah.
it's sometimes I like what happened to me.
uh,
So it struggles. What we do is I'll keep track of base metrics. Like with the cattle, I'll say, okay, how much hay are we feeding them? How many acres are they on? What do we got to make per acre to make this worth it?
Hmm.
And then we look at that, and then on a lot of them, we just look at what are being charged competitively, and and knowing that what we do because of the rotational grazing, because we're not using anything, and we don't vaccinate antibiotics. It is just rotational grazing and improving the environment to make it as healthy as possible for those cattle. Uh, so we know we got a great product, and so we always try to be at the high, at the high end of the price.
Okay.
And then like on the chickens and the pigs where we don't do that many, we're really expensive. I mean,
Okay.
we sell our chicken breasts for $18 a pound.
Nice. Nice.
And but we only do a few hundred chickens a year so far. So at a few hundred chickens a year, that's easy to sell. We
Okay.
we've got a customer base that's willing to pay it. Our customer bases are definitely people that appreciate local food and the highest quality food.
Yeah. How big a region do you service?
We focus on Utah.
Okay.
So I'm a big believer in that your food should come from local.
Hmm.
And so I'm okay with defining local as Utah. I'd be okay if local was just my valley. There's 5,000 people in my valley. I couldn't even come close to feeding them.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if they realized that, then they would be a good wake up call for them. Like you think that you live in the middle of a bunch of food that's being grown. You are wrong.
Uh-huh.
Like we will all starve very quickly if we don't grow more food here just for us.
Yeah.
And that's only 5,000 people. There's 4 million people in the state.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, I've calculated up. I mean, I can feed the 5,000 people in this valley for about 48 hours with what I
Okay.
produce.
Yeah. Then they're going to be hungry and looking for something. Huh?
They're gonna be hungry real fast. And that's
Yeah.
just one of me. So there can be a tremendous number of us growing food for people, and it would be a far healthier food. And the reality is a far healthier world because, you know, this customer, sometimes people go, "Oh, well, you kill cows." And it's like, "Yes, I kill cows." I'm like, "But when you grow monocrops, no matter what that monocrop is, whether it's mono cows and you're not allowing anything else to be there, or it's mono corn, you kill everything else. The bacteria,
Hmm.
the fungus, the earthworms, the bugs, the mice, the voles, the
Hmm.
rabbits, the eagles, the hawks, everything else has to die. The only thing that is allowed to be there is the corn. When you
Yep.
raise cattle, you know this, when you're doing management intensive grazing, everything else gets to live. Everything else gets to live and thrive, and the
Right.
cow dies.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's
And
just how nature works. Something
that's
must die for something to live.
yeah,
It's part of the
it's
system.
but so when I look at that, I honor that. I honor their sacrifice. I honor
Hmm.
what they can do that I cannot.
Sure. Yeah.
And so they deserve my respect. They deserve my appreciation
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
what they can accomplish. That's both healthier for me, my children, and everybody.
Cool. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. So remind us again, when did you come back to the farm?
So I came back to the farm 2014.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we
So
did
just,
our first no-till stuff 2017. That was kind of the first like little dipping my toe in regenerative.
hmm.
2020, first cows. I think we did our first pig chickens 2021 or 2022. First pigs in 2024.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
We've had goats. I was not in love with goats.
Yeah. Goats are fun. Goats are fun as long as they're on somebody else. Well, we actually have goats on our place, but they're pretty well free range and they're not kidding right now. So, um, yeah, somebody, let's see, Sue asked a question. Well, first, Matt, to address your question, how did you get started? It was back through Farm Rebel, or they rebrand. They used to be Grass-Fed Marketing Secrets. Now it's Farm Rebel. That's how we got started as well, or I guess accelerated our direct to consumer on our ranch. Do you use
Yeah, and
specific?
on that, I would either do the two that I know of that are the most highly recommended is Farm Rebel and then Five Marys.
Hmm.
And so if you were looking, I would start there. I know there's one other
Seven
uh
Sons.
Utah Natural Meat and Milk. They like this. It's some other lady. She doesn't focus on beef for certain for sure, but She just focuses on one thing a month. So, like, hey, this month we're going to improve your website. This month we're going to improve your email, whatever it is. And she just does one thing at a time. And so
Mhm.
it's more bite size. Farm Rebel and Five Marys is very intensive. Be ready to spend some serious hours working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's point of sale software. Sue's asking if you use anything like do you use Barn to Door or
Shopify.
Shopify.
Yep.
Okay.
We do
Nice.
a lot of shipping. And so Shopify seriously decreases our shipping costs.
Okay. Good to know.
I won't say it's like my absolute favorite. There's a lot of things I don't like about Shopify, but it works. And Shopify, and if, as long as you got something, it's not going to be your limiting factor.
Hmm. Yep. What would you say has been the steepest learning curve coming back to the ranch, back to the farm?
Going regenerative because you
Okay.
lose the people to hold your hand.
Hmm.
Coming back to the
Yeah.
farm, I mean, I had my dad, as long as I was doing the machines and everything that he knew how to do, I had him there to hold my hand. Yeah, I had a question, he had the answer. As long as I was using chemicals uh, and the GMOs and the fertilizers and pesticides and all that stuff, there was always somebody there to hold my hand. The second I stepped off that path, it's a step into the dark.
Yeah. You
And
truly become a pioneer, right?
yeah, I mean, and I'm not even that much of a pioneer because there's so many people that come before me. I mean, even you, Jared. I mean, the fact that like I always knew that like you were out there that I could reach out to you that you were making it work. The fact that I know that somebody like Joel Salatin is out there and he's written these books that I can turn to. So it's not like I'm not them. I'm not you. You guys have all come before me, and so I'm blessed by everybody that's come before. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's neat. What would you say has been your biggest failure or learning opportunity?
Biggest. Is that like financially?
Generally, it goes to the financial, huh? Because those are the ones that hurt the worst.
Those are the ones that hurt the worst.
Yeah.
And uh, I don't be ready to make mistakes. Okay, so I think my biggest financial one. So when you talk about the biologics, okay, when I got excited about the biologics when I started with them, I bought $20,000 worth of biologics,
Hmm.
and I went and put it out without really understanding the best way to go about it and all that stuff. And then we had that drought, and I just that was painful. Another one that I
Oh,
do that
yeah.
I did right before the drought that I regret is I left thinking, oh, I want to leave growing plants in the field longer, more biomass in the field. So I left my third crop in the field because I wanted to
Hmm.
just graze it, let the sheep graze it, and then not harvest it. And that was right before the droughts too.
Uh-huh.
And then and I, I I regret it only in the sense that I think I could have harvested those, sold it, and used the money to do better things like composting. I think I could have invested that money in composting and spread compost and achieved much greater things.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
so I don't know that there's any right or wrong answers. I'm sure there's situations where it would have made sense to leave that in the field. This year I
Yeah.
tried one that I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. I tried roller crimping. You've heard of roller crimping?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I bought a roller crimper. I grew 40 acres of triticale, or sorry, cereal rye, and I roller crimped it. And then
Okay.
I planted corn into it. So no pesticides, all
Yeah.
organic. My corn, I don't know that it's going to finish.
Okay.
It hasn't even tasseled.
Yeah.
And we're headed into September. So that could be an expensive learning. But I don't know anybody around me that's tried roller crimping. So,
Yeah.
where's the guy to say, hey, Stan, you know what? Roller crimping doesn't work here. Or if you're going to do it here, this is the way to make it work.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so that could be that could definitely be a 5-digit mistake for me.
Hmm.
I seem to like making 5-digit mistakes.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to pass on some of that knowledge and context and wisdom to that next generation.
Yeah,
So
I
they don't
really
have to
do.
make those mistakes.
I really do need to spend more time in just sharing my mistakes for
Yeah.
those that can learn from me. and
Right. Yeah, that is valuable. That is
maybe just
valuable.
remove a few stumbling blocks from their way. And I mean, one thing that we're going to do is we're going to make some videos about we have zero infrastructure for cattle. We
Hmm.
don't have corrals, we don't have loading chutes, we have zero infrastructure. It is all done with mobile panels and electric fence. That's it. That's all
Okay.
we got.
Yeah.
And
You make it
and
work.
we make it work and it works really well. I mean, in the beginning, we dreamed about building some infrastructure, and now I'm just like, I don't think we need it. We know how to interact with these cattle in such a way. We don't even have any. We have a couple permanent fences around our farm with the neighbors, but only a couple. Most of them are not permanent fences between us and our neighbors. Most of them are really bad shape. It is all electric fence that are keeping those cattle where they belong. And
Yeah.
and so, in terms of our infrastructure costs, they are extremely low. And it's like we should really share this with people. Like, if you're looking to get into animals, like, let us help you understand, like, with no infrastructure, how you can get into it really inexpensively and make it work for a long time.
That's valuable.
And and here's how you interact with cattle. Here's how to not interact with cattle, and here's how
Uh-huh.
to interact with cattle. I mean, some of the biggest mistakes we'd make with cattle is if we were trying to separate some out, we try to separate them out, but get them really far away from the herd.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'd probably tell you, well, what happens when you take three cows and take them 100 yards away from the herd? Like the end result is always predictable.
Hmm.
Like they will go back to the herd, no matter what's in between them.
Yep.
Uh, it just things that like people that, because you've been a cattle your whole life, right?
Yeah, we have been sheep initially with some cattle, and then we transitioned to 100% cattle.
Yeah. So you just intuitively know, you probably what's going through a cow's head. When you look at them, and for
Yeah.
somebody like me that had not interacted with cattle, to start doing cattle, that took some serious learning to learn, oh, okay, I know what you're thinking now. This is what I got to do to keep you calm, keep me calm, and make this a good experience for both of us, as best as it can be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'd be really valuable for people because oh, people are always asking, how do I get started? Um, and so maybe just address that question right now. What would you recommend to somebody who has that question? They've got the regenerative bug, or they want to get started, and how do they start?
I think the first question is always how much land do you have to work with, and then how much money do you need that land to produce? Uh, and your audience, this is my favorite thing to do when I'm visiting with new people is so alfalfa. Alfalfa produces about 2 cents per square foot.
Okay.
Corn about 2 cents per square foot. They're pretty similar, both commodity crops. Uh,
Hmm.
with cattle, I hope to get to 4 cents per square foot.
That's
Uh, flour or the next, so then the next step up is wheat. If you grow wheat direct to consumer, 40 cents per square foot, 10 times the value.
hmm
So if you're talking, I've only got 20 acres, well, 20 acres of wheat could produce you $200,000.
hmm. Hmm.
Uh,
There you go.
about $10,000 an acre.
Right.
Orchards are about the same. Cherries about $10,000 an acre, for 40
Okay.
cents an acre.
Yeah.
Although the challenge with cherries is they're very easy to lose a crop, and it takes I think it's 5 years to establish, and it's really expensive to put in. Wheat is a much less expensive thing to get into.
And a whole lot quicker turnaround, right?
Yes, and a much quicker turnaround than something like cherries. Uh, um, flower farm, or sorry, uh, market gardeners, they produce $4 a square foot. So you go from 4 cents to 40 cents to $4 a square foot. And the most profitable thing by far is flower farmers. They produce $16 a square foot. So,
Hmm.
so when I'm talking to people, I'm always like, okay, where do you need to be in that spectrum? Because that's going to, you have to, if you're getting into this and you say, I want to do this, as a life, not just as a hobby, but I actually want to make money at it. Well, you can only make money based on where you are. Why can I do cattle? Because I've got 500 acres to do cattle on.
Yep.
And I want the cattle to make go to 4 cents a square foot, but then we got pigs and chickens. So maybe I get to 10 cents a square foot. Maybe I can get a little higher than that. I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but there's definitely an upper limit on how much we can do with stacking enterprises with animals.
Hmm.
And there are enterprises that will always make more money. I will never get to market gardener status.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. How do you get
That's
started?
interesting.
Decide what you're going to do to make money, and
Hmm.
then and then you got to find somebody that's doing that to at least show you the first step to take after that. How's that? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's really good. Yep. Yep. I like how you broke that down on a profit per square foot basis. That is really good.
Well, yeah, it was somebody who did it for me. I was having a conversation with a market gardener. He's near Las Vegas. I think it's like something like Blue Lizard Farm or something
Okay.
like that. And he's the one that broke it down for me. He goes, "What do you make per square foot?" Figured it out, like 2 cents. He goes, "I make $4."
Nice. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's just it's like, okay, like there's something to be learned here. I didn't even know the wheat thing till just this year because I had a friend call me. He said, "Stan, why don't you grow wheat?" He's like, "Why are you still growing corn? Grow some wheat." And I'm like, "Well, wheat doesn't make any money." And then he sat down with me and he's like, "Okay, let's figure this out. If you grew wheat, sold it direct to consumer, what does a bag of wheat sell for? Okay, $80 for a 40-pound bag. Well, at $80 for a 40-pound bag, 160 bushels to the acre, that's $10,000 to the acre. You can make more than that."
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I like your line of thinking. That's really interesting.
yeah,
Because
and there's still lots of crops I don't know the numbers for because I don't know, I haven't met those people to tell me. But I know the 10,001 is right because I was in DC just recently with the Azure Standard, David,
uh-huh.
and I asked him, I'm like, "Is that right? Is it really $10,000 the acre?" He goes, "Yep."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, you can make more than that on some of them."
Interesting. Yeah. I imagine you'd need to be organic certified to be able to.
Well, that's where the beauty of direct to consumer comes in because it's all about the story. It's all about the marketing.
Okay.
So, when people know me, when they can ask me the question, "Hey, are you using these vaccines? How do you treat your cattle?" So I tell them and I say, "Hey, come take a look. I'll show you anytime, any day. You just show up and we'll go for a ride and I'll show you exactly what we do."
Yeah. 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 Makes sense. Makes sense because yeah, the labels don't necessarily matter at that point. It's the story that they're buying into. Um,
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you taking time to visit here. We probably better wrap up, but just kind of bring things full circle. Where do you see yourself going? What's in store for this next decade, Stan?
Uh, okay. So next decade, the animals become my full-time thing. That's what we do. And from there, we actually open this opportunity up to other people for training. We bring interns and apprentices onto the farm that want to learn how to get into agriculture and and hold their hand and show them
Uh-huh.
the way and make this easy.
Love it. Yeah,
And
there's
it,
a
yeah.
huge need for that. Good for you.
Yeah, 100% there's the need for that because there's nowhere
Yeah,
else to learn this. You cannot go to school to learn this.
yeah.
That you
That's a big step for an engineering introvert.
Right?
You're gonna have you're gonna have a bunch of men
My
and women following you around asking you questions all day.
My first time on Joel Salatin's farm 7 years ago, we paid for the farm tour. The girl who gave us the tour, she grew up in Chicago, city
Uh-huh.
girl. Those are not people that end up on a farm, and not to mention running their own farm profitably. She runs her own farm near Joel Salatin profitably. She was an intern and then an apprentice with Joel Salatin. I've never met a city person that became a farmer. She's the first one,
Yeah, that is cool.
and
There,
we need a lot more of them. There needs to be a lot more of us in agriculture. This one farmer per 100 people, it's the wrong ratio.
hmm. Yeah.
And so there's only one way that it improves. We got to get more people profitably on the land, regeneratively farming, growing food for people. So we got enough commodities. We don't need to feed the world. Let's feed our neighbors.
Yeah,
We,
right on.
we saw what happens to feeding the world when COVID hit, and we realized, oh, well, when the world shuts down, nothing ships around the world. And so if your food doesn't come from your neighbor, you're in a world of trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's an awesome vision. I definitely agree that that is a huge need in the marketplace and in the world right now. And so, love to continue to support what you're doing. For those that are looking for beef, if you're in the Utah area, look him up. Website again.
Utah'sBestBeef.com.
Okay, so check that out. Check out the social media. And any final thoughts that you have, Stan?
Thanks for having me on here, Jared. You've always been an inspiration to me, and I can't tell you how much it means to be on here, but also that you were one of those first people to just kind of give me a peek into a different world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I think there have been others who have shared with me, and it was kind of my way of paying back. Um, and honestly had no idea if our paths would ever cross again, which they have a few times in person and virtually, and it's
Yeah, I love
been
how
really
often we
neat.
just kind of randomly run into each other. Uh,
Yeah,
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 Matt, my beef is grass fed and finished. We don't do grain.
yep, yep. So, well, thanks everybody. You can check these podcasts out on our podcast channel, The Profitable Steward. And what we do here at Ag Steward, we do these events twice a month. We're going to continue that cadence at least through the end of the year. We just wrapped up with a virtual summit with multiple speakers over the course of 2 days. That will soon be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. That's being edited right now. So you can look for that, the replay. There's some pretty awesome speakers, including who you mentioned, Stan, Alejandro Carrillo. And Ray Archuleta was our keynote speaker for this last one. So just a tremendous lineup of people to share practical wisdom and knowledge. And then we also do some consulting, one-on-one and group coaching. And so if you want to learn more about that, the best way to do that is just respond back to the text that the link to this podcast came from. If you're here live, if you're listening to the recording, agsteward.fyi, that's our landing page with some of our information about what we do, and you can plug into what we do there. So hope you can join us again on one of these live or catch the replay. And we'll take care, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.